Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that. And also, I appreciate your comments and your likes, most especially your comments. Thank you. So, today we'll be looking at animating a tab slider indicator. So, if you take a look at the phone screen, you'll see the yellow indicator slides as you slide through your tab. So that's what we're trying to achieve in this video. It also works when you tap on a tab header. The yellow indicator would also slide to that header. It may look like a little thing, but it's not as straightforward as the web where you just use transition and translate and you get smooth animation. So today we'll be using a library to achieve this called React-Native-Reanimated. Here's the library. If you go through, so this is the library we are going to be using to create this animation. I'll leave the link in the description below. So I believe we should already have Expo installed or React Native, but I assume we're using Expo. So you just copy this and install the library. So I have mine installed already. I will not be doing that here. Then you wait for it to install, and then you copy this file, you copy this code and add it to your babel.js config. So you just paste it here. This file is automatically created when you install Expo. You delete that, and yes, there we have it. So now, since we're building the whole setup in my profile page, I would skip the basic layout and put the code in my description. I'll put a link to the code in my description. So you can just copy the basic layout, the styling, and work with it. So the next thing will be me showing how I would animate the tab indicator. Alright, so if you copied the code from GitHub, you should have something like this on your screen. Profile, the help supports, the text. So now we're going to add some rules to our flat list because we want the content to be horizontal and we should be able to scroll through. So we apply horizontal prop to our flat list, then apply. So you can see now our content is horizontal. So we don't want this horizontal indicator, so we'll take it out by applying, setting it to false. False, so it's no longer there. Then you can see it is just jumping to the next content. We want it to automatically move to the next content when we swipe through. We can apply that by using paging enabled. So you can see now it is aligning properly on the next content per page, but for some weird reason there is a little space. So let's check that out. I don't know why that is showing. So we'll apply okay, the ultimate debugging let's apply it to container of our content. So that will be style border. Oh, sorry. I have it already. So border with 1. Okay, let's see. Okay, so you can see, okay, the content is going past the screen, and that should be because, okay, yeah, so we set each content to be the screen width, so you can see it's as wide as the screen, but it is offsetting, and that will be because of this padding. So we'll take this padding out. So you see now everything looks good. Yeah, so we'll just take this one out since we have figured out that bug. All right, so let's go on to styling our header. Yeah, so now we'll dive right into creating the tab indicator. We'll do that by creating some variables from React Native Reanimated. So we'll do this scroll x equals to use shared value. We'll set it to 0. And this value is just like use state in React, where it will hold data between renders. So now we would apply the tab indicator. Do that by saying const animated tab indicator is supposed to use animated style. Yeah, so we can just set the width of the tab indicator. We'll set it to 40. I can say return return width. So this use animated style will allow us manipulate styling with React Native Animated to allow us subtract, add values, and just make it easier to manipulate styling and props. So this styling will be applied together with normal CSS styling. So let me show you how that will look. So you can see animated.view. So this will be our tab indicator. Try to set it up now. So we'll just apply the style here. Apply an array. Then we can see this special styling should come to this animated view. So since we are styling a component, we have to use animated view because we cannot just use view, else the stylings will not work. So we have to use this component provided by React Native Reanimated. So creating this variable allows manipulate the styling as well as adding custom styles. So let's add our custom style by saying okay, border button width, set it to 1. Then border bottom color, let's set it to yellow. All right, let's see how that looks. Okay, it's not really showing. Let's make it a 2 pixel, or if you can see, slightly on the right side of the screen. Or instead, let me make it red. Yeah, it's visible enough now. So we'll set it to absolute. The positioning, we set the positioning to absolute. Absolute. Yeah, then bottom, set it to 0. Yeah, so our indicator is showing perfectly. So we can yeah, so if you remember the plan, the tab indicator should scroll as we scroll through our content. As we scroll through the flat list, we want that tab indicator to move. So we need to apply a translate property to our animated tab indicator. So we'll do that by saying const translate. If you remember from CSS, translate is to move components vertically or horizontally across the screen. And this time we want to move this tab indicator horizontally across the screen. So we'll say interpolate. Please, all right. Interpolate is from React-Native-Reanimated, and it lets us map from input, a set of input values to a set of output values. So I'll do that in a second and explain properly. We need to call this value here. So the animation will be applied dependent on this value, the scroll X value of our flat list. All right, so we'll just say this scroll X, then we'll set our input as well as set our output. So we can say 100 pixel, 200 pixel, 300 pixel, and we want 400 pixel, 500 pixel, 700 pixel. So we're saying when this scroll X value is at 100, we want the tab indicator to move 400 pixel. When the scroll X value is at 200, we want the tab indicator to move 500 pixel. And when the scroll X value is at 300, we want the tab indicator to move 700 pixel. So I'm just using this as an example. The tab indicator should move according to the width of the screen and as well as how we scroll in our flat list. Yeah, so in order to track changes as we scroll and apply those changes to this scroll X variable, we need to track the scroll event of our flat list. And we can do that by saying scroll on scroll. We'll set it to E. So as we scroll through the flat list, this function will be triggered. So we'll say scroll X dot value is equals to E dot native event dot event dot content offset dot x. Yeah, so we're saying when we scroll through the flat list, we need to get the scroll position of the flat list and set it to this scroll x value. So we're changing the scroll x value as we scroll through the flat list. And remember, from this, we're saying when scroll x is at 100, we want the tab indicator to move 400 pixels across the screen. All right, I noticed some errors here. Let's see. Okay, shouldn't be just translate, it should be translate, transform, then translate x, then we'll apply our translate x variable. And just copy and paste this here. All right, now let's see how that will look. Some weird errors. Let me restart the app. All right. Let's see. Okay, where is this error coming from? Not a usable native method argument. Okay. So let's always remember that to access this value, we need to add a dot value to it. If you check the React-Reanimated site, you'll see that they emphasized on this. So now let's check it out and see. All right, yes, you can see our tab indicator now. And let's see when we scroll, or it is not scrolling accordingly. It is scrolling but not showing. Initially, when we load our app to this page, the horizontal scroll position will be at 0. And we also want our tab indicator to be at 0. So everything starts at 0, as you can see. Then when we move one scroll, that's a page width. So when we scroll once, this is automatically a page width. We want the tab indicator to move to help and support. So we say when our position is as wide as the screen, that is the next content is in view. We want our tab indicator to move 500 pixels, but this is not how we want it to be. So instead of 500 pixels, we should move it to under help and support when the next content is in view. So we can do that by targeting the horizontal position of help and support according to our screen. So let's use the onLayout function to get our position for our text header. So let's create a use state header text. So let's call it header text specs set header text specs. cost use state, use states. So it will be an array because there are 3 header texts. So we need to get the width. I'll tell you why we need the width in a second, and as well as the horizontal position. So let's call that X position. Okay, 0. So we'll just do that for 3 items, the width and the respective X position. Yeah, so now we would create the on header text layout function. So we say function. Yeah, so we say function on header text layout. Passing the events as well as the index of each header text. So say const updated specs equals to, or copy out the default header text specs, since we'll be changing the use state, and we don't want to directly apply our changes here, so just create a variable and spread out the details into the variable. Then we would pass in the function to the onLayout function that comes with every component in React Native. So say on layout. So when the component first renders, this would get the width, the height of that particular component, as well as the X and Y position. So say on header text layout. So passing first the event, this event, as well as the index of each header text. Alright, so through the onLayout prop, we can get the width, the height, and the position of that particular component. And in this case, we want the width as well as the position of that particular, of our header text component. So say const width and X represents the horizontal position. So say events dot native event dot layout. So now say for each header text, let's grab the width and the position and set it to our use state values. So we can do that by saying updated specs, the index. Remember, we're passing in the index since we are displaying it with the data. For each header text, we set the width, then the X as X Now, so I will set the X position to X. Now set header we'll set header text specs to updated specs. Yeah. Yes. So now, since we have the width and the position of our header text, we would set the tab indicator appropriately so that when I scroll, the tab indicator will move to the header text of the next content. So remember, everything starts from 0, 0. Then when we're at screen width, when the horizontal position, scroll position is almost at the screen width, we want the tab indicator to move to the next header text position. So we can do that by saying, okay, header text specs second header text dot X position. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so we get our animated indicator, but the animation looks laggy, and we can fix that by applying a special function called with spring. So let's call this indicator width. Then we'll apply with spring to the width and apply it to our translate property as well. So now we should see a smoother animation. Alright, so let's check that out. Let's see how it looks on the screen. Alright, it's smoother now. You can see that it is smoother. So now let's make our tab indicator as wide as each header text, because now we're just hard coding 40 right here. So now we can still do that by using the interpolate function. So now still on the scroll, still on this value, because this is our driver. This is our driver for the animation. Okay. Okay. So we set the driver, we set our input, then our output. At the beginning, everything should be 0, 0. So input output will be 0. And then when we move a screen width, we want our tab indicator to be as wide as the next header text. So this time we'll be using the width. So remember what I said, we need the width earlier. So we'll be using the width now. When we initially render, we want the width to be as wide as the profile text, not 0. So now we change the index to 0. Yes. Let's refresh our app and see that. Alright. Yes, we get that. Now let's scroll and see. So you can see everything is smooth. Profile as wide as profile, as wide as support. But what is left now is the last header text. And let's set the width now. So remember, the header text is the last one, and we want that to be 2 screen width. Screen width, and we'll set it to be as wide as the last one. And that will be an index of 2, 0, 1, 2. That will be the third item. And then the movement shouldn't be 700, and the screen width should be screen width times 2, because now we're moving 2 times the width of our screen. The first time was 1 width, the second time is 2 width. So we need to apply those widths to get the correct position, and we want it to move header text to position of index 2. Yeah. So now let's see how that looks. Profile, help and support, privacy. Perfect. We get our animated tab content. Yeah, so before I go, the last and final thing is to make the header text look interactive. So when you're on an active header, when we're on it, it should show, maybe change the color or something as we scroll or tap on it. So we can track that by setting active index. We track the value, set active index is equals to use state state 0, because the first header text has an index of 0. So now to track the scrolling as we scroll through the FlatList content, you can track that by saying on view ability items change. I'll just create a function here. You can call it the same name. So this function will track changes to the items of the flat list. So this is the name of our function. Track the changes as we scroll. Just create our function here, and we'll be using a useRef so that as we are scrolling, there will not be multiple renders, and this function will only be called once. Okay, so complete dots current, not current. Right, so items, let's say view table items. Okay, So we say if at least one item is visible on the screen. These viewable items represent each item. View. Right, viewable dot length is greater than 0. Then we set active index to the index of the viewable item. So say viewable items, that is the first index, so yes, we're tracking it now. Then we'll apply the styling. Let me just open the getting an error now saying viewable items doesn't exist. Okay, view items, not item. Okay, I think we're good. Then we apply the styling to the text header, the text here, so right here. So we can say color. So say when active index is equals to index, that is the index of each item coming from our data. When it matches the active index we're tracking, we should make the color, let's say green, else no. So else it remains the same, or else you can set it to your own color, blue. So in case you want it to remain the same, always use null. Yeah. So now let's see how that will look as we scroll. The color of our text header should change. Oh, sorry. Active index. Yeah, you can see that it changed right away. As we scroll, green, privacy policy, everything is smooth. Yeah, next and the final thing is to enable the pressing of the tabs. We want to scroll as well when we press each tab text. Remember, I've set each tab text to a button, so when we tap on it, we should automatically scroll through our content. Alright. Yeah, so to do that, we'll be using a useRef to hold our components. So we'll call it FlatList ref. It's equals to useRef. Set it to null. Then we'll pass it to our FlatList. Flat ref equals to FlatList ref. Yeah. So now we'll pass in the onPress function to our tab header text by saying onPress tab header. So create this function now. Alright, we're saying create it here. Function. Press header. First, we'll be setting it when we tap it. When we tap our header text, we want to set it the active index to the index of our header text. Set active index. Yeah, we need to pass in our index here. Change the structure of this by say, since we are passing in a property, the index, yes. Alright. Then finally, after setting the active index, we need to make our flat list scroll automatically. And remember, we're tracking it with, we're tracking the component with this useRef. We've passed in our ref variable to the flat list. So we can scroll automatically to any content. And remember, content starts from index 0, 1, and 2. So since we have our index, we have passed in the ref. So we can say flat list.ref.current.scroll to index. So passing the index and set animated to true. This scroll to index, it comes with a flat list, so we can access it by using the useRef. It's a property on the flat list component. So now let's see how that looks. Yeah, everything works fine. We can scroll and we can move. We can tap and everything is smooth. So just to talk about a gotcha that affected me. At a point, I applied horizontal padding to my top level component. So let's say 20. This is my top level component, the container containing the whole flat list. So we can see now it looks good, but let me scroll. You can see there's a little bit of offset. So remember, when you are working with animation and you are depending on screen width, screen height, X position, Y position, when you're using dimensions to get the width, remember to always avoid using padding, because padding affects inside the content container. It will mess up the accuracy of our X position, Y position, or the screen width. So assuming you need to apply spacing around your header container, you should use margin. So margin is a better option to padding when working with positioning and screen width. So let's take out this 25. So instead of applying padding horizontal, let's apply, sorry, let's comment this out and apply it directly to our content container, the header, the container for our header text. So now it will be margin horizontal 25. So we'll see that everything should work as it should. So now you see everything looks perfect. Everything looks smooth. Yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope I was able to help you. Bye, until next time.